Welcome back to the Troubleshooting Life podcast. I'm your host, Craig Poston, with my co-host, Jay Peters, where we talk about various topics, sharing our experiences on life and finance. What's up, man?
What is poppin', man?
You almost gave us a new intro, man. Started singing. But
man. Was that Black Eyed Peas?
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, how's things going?
Dude, it's been good, man. It's been, I'll be transparent. It's been stressful. But it doesn't mean it's not good, right? Yeah, no, it's been good. Like, work's been, really busy. And still doing some stuff at the property, getting some people in, doing some showings, trying to make things work. Yeah, man, it's been good. I started another audiobook recently.
Okay.
So there's the not emotional. What's it called? Motivational, not emotional. There you go. Motivational speaker that I listened to. He's probably an emotional speaker too. I don't know. But he came out with another book called UOU, and I've been listening to that. Just dropped this September, and it's been pretty good. Other than that, still on the grind, still trying to do things here and there. But yeah, what about you, man? How's it been?
Pretty good. I'd say maybe not stressful, but definitely busy between work, kids and their practices, and actually doing the same thing with real estate, just trying to get more information. I have a real estate agent I'm working with, and it's not easy trying to find an actual property that works for you. Yeah,
it's a process. Like, I think every property I've had, it would take me at least like a few months to really nail down something that I want. Like I think for the first house I bought, it took me like a year to really find one, and it still wasn't like perfect. I mean, nothing's ever really perfect, right? And then this other one, it took me like 6 months, maybe 9 months to really find one. And I'm hoping it just becomes less and less as it kind of goes down. It's like, confidence has to rise. Your knowledge and education about like properties in general has to kind of adjust. So it's definitely warranted. And I think a lot of it is that confidence or comfort, right? Because like, it's not like these things are inexpensive. So you got to spend like a decent amount of cheese to get this stuff. And I think that's what kind of helps or degrades some of the your decision making, because you're like, man, is this really right? Like, what if I make like a huge mistake and I have to shell out all this money? It can be a little nerve wracking there.
Yeah, no, that definitely is nerve wracking. But as they always call it, they call it tuition of life.
Okay.
Yeah. So you gotta pay in your tuition to learn something new.
Yeah, I like that. Tuition of life. I've never heard that.
Yeah. So like if you mess up, I mean, think about it. It's a lesson learned, right? And then you just learned something that you didn't know before, and now you can move forward with better decision. Yes, granted, yes, you do lose money, or you can do what most entrepreneurs do. We come up with ideas to quickly solve the problem, where it's not a complete loss,
Right.
So you can keep it going. That's I think that's just the nature of what we're trying to be in, that space we're trying to be in, right? Entrepreneurs and investors. It requires you to just keep moving forward no matter what.
Yeah, and I think like something that I heard about people of like affluence is that for their kids they'll have like a failure fund and stuff, and maybe that's like the life tuition or tuition life.
That's called a safety net right there.
Right. But it's like they give them, like, they expect them to not have a overnight success, right? So they seed them with some money to test something out, right? Whether that's going to school, going to start a business, whatever it is, right? They'll seed some money toward, not like a huge amount of money, more money than I'll probably get from my parents, but but no, just something to, because it does build that life experience. It does build that confidence of like, hey, I wanted to start a business in vending machines, but and they gave them the money. They're like, okay, but I realized that one, it's either not the passion, it's not what I want to do, or like the market wasn't ready for that specific product at that time, or it was too
Yeah.
saturated, right? They kind of can get those licks in without having to take a huge hit to their like ego or their pockets.
Yeah. Yeah, that was something too. Vending machine, something I always wanted to do. And that was even when I was younger, as a kid. Uh, I mean, I wish I kept going with that idea, because that is something that you got. I guess that would be that first lesson in investment, like saving your money up, buying a machine, and then learning how to stock this machine with the product.
Yeah,
So you're still servicing your customers because you're just giving them the product that they want. Well,
yeah. I mean, like cats be doing that in schools right now. Like it's not allowed, but I've seen like even high schoolers, maybe even like middle schoolers, like they'll have like a gym bag, but they don't go to the gym.
oh yeah. I
And
know
then
what
like
you're talking
they'll have it with stuff, and they be selling it, they be hustling out there. And like I said, it's not allowed, but I mean they still be doing it. So you could just like for people that used to do that, I used to be like, man, that's so dumb. But like now that I'm thinking about it as I got older, I was like, man, that was pretty smart. I mean, there was risk in doing that, right? Because if you got caught, you got fined or whatever it was. But like it kind of started something, right? It started like some sort of entrepreneurial like switch in their mind, like, hey, I need some way to make money, and this is a way that I feel could make money. And especially like at younger ages where maybe you're not at the age to get funds or start working. Um, but I just thought, you know,
no.
looking back, it looks good.
Yeah, because I mean, I used to dub tapes, cassette tapes. If anyone they don't know about this, because there were once called cassette tapes out there,
Yeah,
and
right.
man, my dad worked at a radio station, so a lot of times we'd get music a lot quicker than other people.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what I would do is I'll listen to the CD or whatever, and then I'll dub it on a tape, right? And I can still sell the tapes for $5 just to, hey, here's a little stuff. Yeah, so
Yeah.
pirating at a young age there.
There you go. There you go.
And then it actually went towards the internet. They started pirating on the internet. That's when they want to
Yeah.
stop it. Then
Yeah. And then like a lot of the things that they say that kind of stop pirating or um because the laws didn't stop it because even though it was illegal, people were still doing it.
yeah,
But like streaming services were like a big thing that stopped a lot of people from pirating, is because
yeah,
like now everything's so accessible so easily and so quickly that there's not much of a reason to pirate.
yeah.
People still do it, but I feel like it's a lot less because of streaming services coming out, and they can be fairly inexpensive.
Yeah, no, I definitely believe that. Because I pay a subscription, and I definitely don't even download as many albums as the subscription
Yeah,
I pay for. Uh,
yeah,
to get my money's worth. If I was to actually download an album every month, maybe that'll be worth my the
yeah.
subscription that I pay for. Yeah, but I don't.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it kind of leads into what we're talking about with the growing pains, right? As we're talking about how we're growing with our investing, and then like all the different things that we learn throughout life, right? It all kind of leads to that the growing pains. It takes a little bit, to do a lot, but then during that little bit for the lot, it was a struggle, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and this is a topic you came up with. What's your ideal on it?
So like, I think we had talked about this like a while back, and it's been like a long while since like we've actually worked in the same space. But I called it growing pains because in life, especially as like a young child or like a young adult, you receive growing pains. Like I remember when I was younger, I would get like shin splints when I would get like taller and stuff. And I remember
Yeah,
one summer, it's like I grew like a few inches like throughout that summer, and maybe it was just like a good, I don't know, maybe it was something I was eating or drinking, but like that time was uh like a lot of growth physically for me, um and I always remember that feeling but I think some people don't know how to identify that in life, like
Yeah.
how we go through life and how some of the pains that we go through are because of growth, because you're growing so much, right? So like some of the examples that I put out there are like people socialize, right? A lot of people, they enjoy, socializing, going out, having fun with friends, and going out to drink, whatever it is. But when you're like really in the grind, trying to grow your products, trying to grow yourself, there's things like that take a hit, right? So you may not go out as often because you got to make certain deadlines on projects, or you got like a lot of schoolwork that you got to do. And while those are like the things that you should be focusing on, and the going out and stuff is like should be like the reward for it. It's still painful when you're doing that switch because you're so social in the beginning and you're so out there, that going into the grind or sticking into the grind kind of feels a little bit more painful. But it is for
Yeah.
growth. It is for you to kind of move forward and gain experience or opportunities in general.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, because a lot of times I would neglect my friendships, and that's it. And basically, it was that trying to focus on my goals that I had. And a lot of times, like you said, when it comes to studying or anything that you're working on really hard, it requires your time. You usually spending it at the end of the day, especially if you're already working. Either working in your career field or working somewhere to get into a new career field. All right. Yeah, I guess not everybody starts a career as soon as they leave their parents' house after they finish, graduating college. Sometimes it takes a minute.
Yeah, very, very little of them do too. I don't know the actual statistic, and we could probably pull it up. But yeah, no, you know, I would say, I mean, I think it really depends on how you define career. Like, I don't know if you would consider like joining the military really starting a career. I personally don't. But no offense to anyone there. But no, yeah, there is that lull period, or that transition period from when you become an adult, or when you've have all the knowledge and stuff, to where you can start taking advantage of certain opportunities.
Yeah. No, and then yes, they do call it a career in the military, especially if you plan on doing the full 20 years. You call it a career. And I mean, I don't know. It's a lot of dedication. That's why I'll call it a career, because yeah. But I can see where you're coming from, because sometimes it feels like it's not a set skill that like you have many skills. It's not like you're like, hey, I can call myself an IT professional, even, you know, with this, because like with that same job they gave you, you're also doing something else. You're also managing people. You're also you're doing lawn service, because they refuse to get a contractor and they pay for that. So yeah. So
you're chipping paint, you're doing everything, right? Anything the military needs of you. And that's why like a lot of my buddies that are on active duty and stuff, they always say that's the part of the job or jobs that they're not a big fan of. Is that they're cool with showing up, doing the work that they're supposed to, like especially like my IT buddies. But then when they had to pull watch, when they gotta do all this auxiliary stuff on top of it, it kind of because it starts eating away your time, right? Like when you got to do, like you said, mow the lawn because other people aren't doing it, or whatever it is, or you have to do like certain other maintenance tasks that are on top of your job. It's just not conducive to like you're actually like growing in that field.
Yeah. So that's where I could definitely agree with you on that, because it's not single focus at all. No. It is definitely multi-focus, and which makes it difficult when it's time to get out of the military, because you don't know how to like bundle all these things you did up and put it on a resume and give it to someone and say, hey, these are the things that I do. And so, because I saw that when I was getting off of active duty, I was like, man, I had to take my awards, I had to take my evaluations and kind of put them all together. Okay, what did I do? And then I had to come up with, as they call it, a master resume. So the master resume has everything on it. And then when you get ready to apply, so you pick off of that. When it's time to apply for a job, they're like, all right, you pick what you need that says you do this for that particular thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and it's a true thing because like, and I'm not a big proponent of it, but when certain job opportunities come up and they say you need to have 6 years of experience in IT, right? And then like say those 6 years were in the military, it's kind of hard to really say that those were like true experiences in IT because you have
Yeah.
all that auxiliary stuff that you have to do. So I'm not a proponent of time-based experience, right?
Yeah.
Because me personally, I don't have like a lot of years or time um, in the field, but I have like a lot of experience in the field,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, because as I like to call experience, I call it encounters. Because like, yeah,
Mm,
instead of it, being by the years, is by how many times have you did this, or how
mm,
many new things have you experienced, and I call that experience because you've encountered so many different things. So like, if it's in that particular field, if you encountered a lot of different situations in that particular field, that's considered to me real experience. Because yeah, like you said, you can have 20 years experience, but then if it's not single focus, or if it's scattered so much that you can't really call that true experience, it kind of makes it hard, right? Yeah. But yeah, and then I like it's another way you're talking about, like losing sleep because you're focused on school and making deadline or project, right?
oh man,
Yeah.
that's one to speak to the choir, man. Because yeah, I've definitely lost a lot of sleep, and I actually experienced that when I was in the military, was
Yeah.
losing sleep, and it's because military, very mission focused, very like something is always the objective, right? And that's something I do like about the military, is that there is always an objective to follow and go towards, right? It may not be the best, it may not be what you really want to do, but it is something that to work for. So you have like a target to actually hit or attempt to hit, right? So like when I was in school and stuff, I was very focused on making sure I definitely didn't fail, and two, made the best effort and execution as possible, right? So at that time, I was sleeping like 3 or 4 hours a night. Like that was about it. Because what I would do is that we would have class for 6 hours straight, hit the gym, make sure I got my meals in, and then like for another 6 hours, I would be like just grinding and trying to study as much as possible. Because, and maybe I brought it up on the podcast before, but me coming in straight as a reservist is that if I didn't pass that school, I'm not guaranteed to stay, or I'm not guaranteed to get another job, and I'm not guaranteed to stay in the military if that was the case, right? So that added like a lot of stress to me, but it put like a lot of fire into me to make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, right? But that's where like the lack of sleep really came in. But I was still making sure, like I said, I was still getting my meals, still hitting the gym, still making sure that I could get everything done, like to prepare for the military, even though I was, going to be a reservist.
Yeah. No, I definitely, the losing sleep part, especially with the military. I was active duty, and which a lot of active duty personnel would definitely agree with. If you want to get ahead, you're definitely not sleeping at night. And you still got to get up at you got to be at PT at 6:30. This is how it is for Army, right?
Yeah.
You still got to be at PT at 6:30, so you can at least be accountable, right? You might not be the the running the fastest or whatever, right? Yeah. But yeah. So, and when you go throughout your whole day, you're normally not finished with the day until about 1700. And then 1700, if you got other things to do, you got to knock that out. But when it's time to study or whatever, if it's for college or if it's for certifications, because we're in IT, and that's what we use a lot of, and those things, you're not getting sleep at night. I remember times for what it was, CAS Plus, that exam. So I went to it was a 2-week course, actually. You went to a 2-week course, but in the process of this 2-week course, you had to study every night before you before you went to bed or whatever. But when it was time to take that exam, like I definitely was losing more sleep. Like I don't even know how I was retaining this information, because I would actually get up like 3 a.m. just to start reviewing stuff, before I got ready to go to work, and And then like I would constantly do that until it was time to take the exam. And when I took the exam, like, I mean, I'm, I don't know by score how I passed, but I know I was passing. And I was like, I got it. So, but it really, it came down to that dedication. And at that time, it was kind of, it was probably crazy of me. I was doing multiple things. Like I was actually going to the board, and it was to go to E6, and then they had a grad chapter fraternity, Sigma, which I'm a part of, and it I was like studying for that because you have to study for that. Then you for the board you got to study for, and then so I was kind of glad that there was they weren't due at the same time, but there was like it was like a staggered
Overlapping.
yeah. It was so like so I was able to get all those done, and
Yeah.
so which was great. And that's what my wife was like made a joke because she was like, you've done more at this like duty station than you've done anywhere else, because it was like I mean what I was looking at is between trying to make a better life for my family, me wanting to get ahead, and and something I wanted to do for myself personally. Like I mean, I felt like I should do it, and it required a lot of lack of sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
No, that's true. And it's like, for the same certification that I took, or that you took, I was doing it when I was in the middle of my master's, right?
Yeah.
And my master's, I promise you, like, was no joke, like a lot of sleep lost, because one, I will tell you, I'm not great at writing in general. It's never been my strong suit. But in a master's program, that's like what you got to focus on is a lot of writing, a lot of research. So I didn't enjoy it, but I still took it up to do it. And then when the requirement came down to get that cert, I was kind of dreading it. But what I would do is like, wake up a little bit earlier, study for the cast, right, in the morning, and then nowadays they have audiobooks or like video lessons. So like in the car, I would be listening to it as I'm driving to work and stuff, and then when I'm doing like my papers and stuff for my master's, I would also start listening to stuff just so like, because I'm one of repetition. Like if I keep listening or hearing or reading about the same thing, it'll slowly stick to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good way for me to utilize my time, or to test how well I utilize my time. Because a lot of people, when they're in a car, or when they're doing work, they're probably listening to music and stuff. And there's nothing against that, right? I have nothing against that. But I just chose that my time was better spent listening to like certifications or audios about the certification, just so I could pass within that time frame.
Yeah. Yeah. But I feel like that's always going to be part of the recipe, that loss of sleep, because I think we're such a busy society. So all the things that we want to do nowadays, it's not like we're, stuck in some little small town where there's nothing to do, and there's well, I say small town, I'm sorry, because that could mean many different things. Stuck out in the wilderness, in the woods, in a cabin, and then like where you're in the boonies, like yeah, because I don't want to get anybody offended by saying small town, because I'm from a small town, so it can mean many things. So, but yeah, being secluded while you work on these things, like it's totally different, where you can probably focus your time a little bit more.
It's a little bit, or it should be supposedly easier, because it's a little bit more convenient. Like there's less distractions, less people to distract you. But yeah, no, I feel that.
Yeah. And you got your next one here. It's foregoing a social life because something else needs more of your attention.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but I mean, I've never been one to personally have a social life. I'm not gonna lie. Like I've typically been like the introvert, or a person that's kind of by themselves, and which I'm okay with. Like it's fine. Like I don't have like a feed off of like a lot of energy from other people. So I've just never wanted to go out. So like when I had to grind on, like, when I was going through my bachelor's, or when I was going through my master's, or going through certs and stuff during those times, I found it actually like comforting to just focus on that grind and focus on stuff. But I know like you probably definitely had more of a social life than I'll ever have.
Why you say that? Because I drink.
Oh, no, but
Yeah, you came over my house and you see that we drink. Like,
yeah. Oh, dude, when you said you drank, I didn't realize you meant chug. Because dude, I'm pretty sure you knocked down like 3 wine bottles by yourself. I was like, yeah.
Nah, I had to do that many bottles by myself, but yeah, it was shooting whiskey, and that's something I don't know. And I did that too when I worked at a restaurant. I don't know why we shoot whiskey. You're not supposed to shoot it. You're supposed to sip it. And it's like, yeah, but like, because I remember I was working at Dave and Buster's. That's another thing they would do too. And it was like, yeah, and yeah. So yes, I had a
Maybe that's
social like.
thing, bro.
Well, what's that?
The shoot whiskey.
Whiskey. I don't know. Man. I don't know. But yeah, I've had to kind of let go of some of my social life because working at a restaurant, even between college, right? You sometimes like I won't say at the end of the day, but like when it's getting close to the weekend, that's when you start to go over other people's homes and the or apartments or whatever, right? And you start drinking and you getting ready for the weekend. So like that I could when it comes to actually getting your things together, you have to kind of push some of those things to the side.
And the only reason why you really have to do that is because, the people that you are socializing with at that time may not want to do the same things that you want to do, right?
Yeah.
And, they may not want to grow in a certain field at that specific time, right? Because not everyone we ever socialize with is in the IT field, for example, right? Or not necessarily trying to do like side hustles like real estate, which is cool. Like not everyone has to do the same thing. That's the point of life is to be unique, to do your own stuff. But there's like a crux there, like, hey, do I want to socialize with these people that don't have the same vision or aspirations that I do? Or do I really want to focus on what I feel is going to grow me, help my family, help my future? And that's where like kind of going away from that social aspect comes in.
Yeah. And it's, I would say it's probably better anyway. You can't have all of that in at the same time. Because like you said, when it comes to what we do, not a lot of people want to talk about that because where we are in the IT field, we get pretty deep into it. We're talking about code and we're talking about like, how to change a whole system,
the network configurations, architecture.
Yeah. So no one's no one's really want to have a conversation about that.
Yeah, no one's going to a bar and talking about that, bro. Like, oh, what server did you work on today? Oh, I did this.
Yeah, and then there's something too about money, right? Even just talking about money, like you said about our side hustle, about real estate. Like it's something that
taboos.
Yeah. I don't know. Some people just they can't just sit and have a conversation about money. I don't know if it's because yes, it is boring. I remember when I was 18 and trying to force myself to read Money magazine. Like it was a little boring and dry. But the thing is, if you learn a little bit about money, you can produce more in life. You can do some of the things that you talk about doing. So. I think money shouldn't be such a taboo. I think I'm glad my kids are okay with me talking to them about money. Yeah. So, and I try to bring it up in some conversations so they don't feel that money is a bad thing. They like my daughter now is trying to get she's trying to get money out of me because she's trying to buy this game. So, but the thing is, what she's like, she's trying to find things to clean up. So like I'm supposed to clean the garage today. She's like, oh, I can help you. Like that's the only time she's gonna volunteer. And then one of the other things that made me pretty proud was, she kind of ran with this idea. She made a lemonade stand. It probably wasn't the greatest lemonade, but. But what she did was she went outside, got a table, made some lemonade and sat outside. But then the funny thing is there was no traffic because we live in a cul-de-sac.
Yeah, I was gonna say you guys live right in the cul-de-sac. So if someone's coming down, they know where they're going.
Yeah. So what they did was they start going door to door with their lemonade.
Oh shoot. Okay.
Yeah, and then,
awesome,
Yeah, and then people actually overpaying. Just I think they just like the idea that they were out there trying to make money,
Yeah.
and they were giving them $5 for a cup of lemonade.
Dang, bro, that's some upcharge, bro.
No, but I don't know. I don't know what they priced it as, but the people were actually giving them money because I think they like to hustle, and that's the thing I'm proud of because
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's how it is. You can't if something's not happening. Well, let's figure a way out. We can figure this. Yeah, figure this out, and we're gonna go do it. Yeah. So
Well, that's a lot of respect to you and the daughter because no, it is scary, right? Doing like the door to door stuff, trying to even coming up with the idea, like the confidence to do that is just exponential, and the experience received from that is as well.
Yeah, because I end up it was something. It wasn't equal in value. I say it wasn't equal in value. It was Oculus that she wanted. But what I did was because of the hustle, the hustle I saw, I told her, I was like, I'll get it for you because I really appreciate that. I was like, that is bravery right there. Like not everybody does that. I was like, and so it probably wasn't equal in value of how I rewarded her, but I was still wanted her to know that was a trait I want her to keep.
Yeah. No, that's a great trait to learn and to, especially at a younger age. It is definitely influential for future endeavors.
Yeah. And then it kind of almost, I think your next thing kind of almost falls within the same realm of the social life too, cutting off friends and family because their goals and aspirations don't match your vision.
Yeah. And it's like, it's because like, it's something I had to do as well. And granted, like I said, I'm not a very social person in general. It's not like I don't talk to people, and it's not like I'm afraid to chop it up with people. It's just like not my niche. It's not my thing to just, introduce myself. Hey, have a conversation and stuff. But like there were times where my friends and family weren't in the same headspace I was, same type of grind that I wanted to do. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like I said, people do not have to do the same thing you do. People don't have to support you for your dreams, your aspirations, because that is what you want to do, right? But to that effect, you can't also spend time with those people or as much time with those people if what they're doing and you're doing are diverging, right? I mean, that they're going in opposite directions, right? It's not like you don't like them. It's not like you don't love them because they're your family and friends, but it's just that the amount of time that you spend with them has to become less for you to reach those other goals. Now, if they are like in that same headspace, if they do want to participate in what you're doing as well, great. That's, even better, right? Because, two heads are better than one, right? So, and especially, accomplishing things, but that's not always the ideal case. That would be the ideal case, but it's not always the actual reality of it. And then, maybe at some point you do meet people that are in the same headspace, like you and I, right? Meeting at work and stuff and chopping it up. And, of course, other people you would meet, whether that's, online or like through networking events, whatever that is. But, specifically talking about like the people that have a lot of influence into you or on you, which I would think are your friends and family. That's another reason why you kind of have to slowly cut them off, because they're going to start saying things and they may not have the proper context or the proper education to really give their opinion on that. But you still take their opinion because, you love them, you respect them as friends and family. But that's a good way to really draw that line. Like, hey, yes, you are my mom. Yes, you are my dad. But I can't take your advice on this because you don't actually do this. Like, that's not true constructive criticism, right? Or constructive feedback, because they haven't constructed that specific thing, right? So like, say if you're like my parents, they work in the medical field, right? If I wanted advice in that, then I would take that advice. And I do, right? But if it's like in IT, if it's in real estate, other than like, of course, if they bought their own house, then that is no longer advice that I can truly receive from them, because there's no way to validate that part of their information or education, right? And, maybe they'll kind of do this scarcity thing, like, hey, you don't want to be a landlord, you don't want to own all these properties because the price, whatever it is, and that can get to you because, like I said, they have influence on you. So those are the things that you kind of have to like hush out or like kind of filter from them and realize that it's not exactly uh, valid information or verified information.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that, because I starting out at 19, I kind of had to make my way. All right. So, and this wasn't even to go to the military. This was just moving out on my own. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but that took a lot of courage, because really it's almost like I had to turn my back on my family
Mm-hmm.
because I was trying to pursue what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an adult. I wanted to see what life was about. And my parents, they didn't want me to do it, right? Granted, all I knew what I wanted to do was be an engineer and be successful. Those are the things I knew I wanted to do. And in that process, if it meant that I got to step out, just see the world or do whatever I got to do, then that's what I did. Right? And that same bravery that I did at 19 made it easier for when I finished college to move and go to Dallas. So like you kind of, as you keep going, as you said before, like you gain courage as you keep doing things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things that, because I was okay with being alone, okay with having to, just be able to pick up the phone. I'll just pick up the phone and talk to him versus having to see him every day. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. And that led to like, okay, constantly doing things. And then when I got in the military, that was for sure. Like when you go active, you don't know where you're going, and you have to, suck it up and learn how to adapt to whatever environment that you're in. And then all those lead to, like, you can't always go like, oh, where's my mommy, where's my daddy, not to be, funny like that, but still you can't, you have to learn how to be on your own. And it's funny, yeah. And that was funny. Me and my wife were talking about this last night. The how I think society may be making the new generation more fearful about living on their own, about doing things.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. And we were kind of like saying maybe it stemmed from the parents. Maybe they had some fears that now they're trying to instill those same fears on their kids by saying, no, it's okay, you can stay here as long as you need to, versus saying, all right, go get scuffed up a little bit and come, and then come back to me and say, tell me how it feels, and I can help you out with learning how to get back out there again.
No, I agree. Like, that is definitely a thing instilled by parents or by the generation, and it might be like an overcorrection type thing. So what I mean is that, like, when my parents were growing up, and specifically like my dad and stuff, he was the opposite, right? Like, his parents would throw him out, like, hey, you're 18, get out of my house, right? But they didn't provide any guidance on how to do that, right?
Yeah.
Like, they didn't say, hey, go to college. They didn't say, hey, go to the military. They just said, hey, get out, right?
Yeah.
So like what he did was join the military, went to the army and stuff. And, my grandfather, he was a Navy guy as well. But, it still wasn't like, he had to go through like a lot of growing pains during that time. So he was definitely taking these licks. And, so when it was time for me to move out, like they were like, no, don't do it. All these costs, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I don't care. I'm still going. But yeah, no, it was like that overcorrection, like, hey, this is how I grew up, and I don't want you to have to experience that. But I think, the person should experience it. They should experience those licks. They should experience those scuffs here and there to really, gain experience about life.
Okay. All right. So we're getting down to our next segment, frugal and cheap. All right. This one's splitting meals when going out.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So I thought about this one, or I actually looked this one up, because I was like, what's the like frugal versus cheap type of topics that can be like, either then or there. So like splitting meals and stuff. I mean, honestly, when I didn't have money, I just didn't go out. So but I know for like people that are more social than I am, like they'll still go out at least. And maybe like, they'll pregame some food beforehand instead of like, and then when they go out, they get something expensive. But like splitting a meal, I mean, I've only done it for like if I wasn't too hungry and stuff. And you already know me, I'm a foodie, so I stay eating. So like I'll hardly ever split a meal. But like if that's the case, then yeah, I'll split a meal just to, you know, not eat as much. But no, I don't know, man. Like splitting a meal to save some money, frugal, cheap.
No. It's a frugal thing. It's thought put into it, right? And I mean, it would only be cheap if, like I said, you just basing it off of dollars, right? But me and my wife, before we were married, we actually did do this, right? But the reason why we did this is because we realized we were eating double the amount of food.
Yeah.
And so basically at this point in time, we were really big in fitness and we were working out a lot. And what we would do is we would work out because we had 24-hour fitness, which is pretty cool gym. And you could work out late at night. So you work out late at night, then go to IHOP afterwards, right? Yeah. But it was split a meal at IHOP because the meals were pretty big, especially the omelets. Man. Yeah.
The omelets, and especially because you get the pancakes with the omelets, and the stack of pancakes is huge just by itself.
Yeah. So that was one way that we kept from eating too much, because basically you just ruin all that work you did at the gym. If you're gonna eat like double the amount of food, then go to bed.
Yeah. Well, one omelet is like I think at least 1,000 calories, like minimum.
I wouldn't doubt it, man. The thing is huge.
Yeah.
So no, I've done it before, and actually, to me, it's not a cheap thing. People put a taboo on it and call it cheap, But in reality, especially what if it's somewhere you wanted to experience, but you don't really care for all the food, right?
Just like the ambiance.
Yeah. So well, why wouldn't you split a meal if this is like really this food is not what I like, but I like being in this place because they have great wine or whatever it is, right?
Right.
And if you split a meal because you just save money on the food, so you can spend money on the alcohol, obviously my favorite thing, and that's to me a frugal thing if you're just trying to adjust to something else you want to do, because I think I was watching a show where this couple, they went to this place that it was $100 burger, right? But they really wanted to experience this place, but they didn't really. I mean, it was the burger looked huge too, right? For the size, but they ended up spending, I forgot how much they would spend on their meal, but they wanted to experience it instead of like having a full out meal each a piece. They split the burger and then both had champagne or wine, whatever it was, right? Whatever they had together. And it's just that they wanted the experience. They didn't want to. So basically, and not say they couldn't afford it. I think they could afford it. They just chose that route.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And man, so now when you split a meal, do you still tip the same though? You still paying the same
But I guess if you look at it like that, I mean, and in a sense, that would be more, hey, let me get it to go. If you feel that badly, about something like that, it's because in reality, you should only tip on what you ordered. So it doesn't really matter if you order a soda, and tip on the soda. Then that's all I want is this soda. And and if you feel like this person deserved more, guess what? You don't have to go off the percentage of the sales total. You could go like, hey, let me add another 20% because I think that so make it 40% because you think the person was worth it, right? So no, because I was a server, and basically the guy's tab was like $40, right? But then the dude tipped me $40, right?
Oh wow,
yeah.
That's generous.
Yeah, but it's because I actually took the time and I talked to him and I made sure everything he needed was there. And when he asked me, because he always come in conversation, why did you move from Mississippi to Texas? And then I was like, well, yeah, I finished my degree and I'm after this and I'm trying to do this. And then some people just they like the hustle, and this guy happened to like what I was saying, and he was like, oh, and then at the end of it, and I think this was lunch too. At the end of it, he tipped me $40.
Wow,
yeah,
awesome,
yeah. So that's why you don't have to tip, but just buy off the sales total. So if you feel like the person's worth it, then just tip them more. So, and if, like I said, it goes into more than just being frugal by splitting a meal. Like I said, me and my wife, we save calories. So because you're always overeating when you go to restaurants.
No doubt. Yeah, well, because, they cook it in whatever it is, right? Like, extra fats, butters, whatever it is. And it's not like the portions are incredibly small or anything. So, yeah, you're definitely eating more than you probably should in one meal or one sitting.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. All right. You ready to close this thing out, man?
Yes, sir. All righty. Thank you for listening, everyone. This is Jay and Craig signing out the Troubleshooting Life podcast. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. We'll see you next week.
All right. See you next week.